steal that game. They had a double-digit lead. The Cleveland Cavaliers did 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, blew that lead as they have done so many times this season. The Cavs cannot hold on to a fourth quarter lead for some reason. They blew this fourth quarter lead again in game one, had a opportunity to close the Indiana Pacers out in game one, but they didn't. They let the Pacers hang around. Indiana made a run in the fourth quarter, had an opportunity to win the game late. Their superstar, Paul George, had a great game in game one, had 39 points, if I'm not mistaken, 37 points. Paul George, he was dragging, he was killing, and had an opportunity to take the game winner, but he got doubled. Passed the ball to C.J. Miles. C.J. Miles did not make the game-winning shot. Cavaliers win game one. Paul George was a little bit salty about not getting the final shot in that game. Move on to game two. Cleveland again builds a 19-point second half lead, only to see that lead disintegrate. Indiana comes back and makes a game of it late, but Kyrie Irving goes bananas. 37 points for Kyrie. Kevin Love, 25 points, 11 rebounds. LeBron James, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 4 blocks. LeBron does it all. He gets better with age. He ages like fine wine. And the Cavaliers are now up 2-0 in that best of seven series between the Indiana Pacers. I have Cleveland winning, the Eastern Conference, so I don't think that they're going to lose. I know they're not going to lose this series. I don't have them losing a series in the Eastern Conference, but I digress. Cleveland Cavaliers up 2-0. Moving on to the 3-6 matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks. I told you last week's podcast, I don't trust the Toronto Raptors. I don't trust them, man. I just don't do it, man. They do have 2 All-Stars in their backcourt, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, but I just don't trust them, man. In the playoffs, they shrink, man. They shrink like raisins in the sun. They shrink like old man. Yeah, you know they shrink like old man. Yeah, they shrink in the playoffs. They being the Toronto Raptors. And they shrank against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Milwaukee Bucks didn't just steal game one versus Toronto Raptors. They beat the brakes off of Toronto. I think Toronto scored like 8 points in the fourth quarter of game one. Milwaukee won game one. Game two is this week. I don't know if Toronto's going to win game two. They didn't give me any indication in game one that they are going to win game two. Milwaukee is a really good young team, really long, really athletic. Toronto is who Toronto is. They don't play well in the playoffs. They have really good regular season games, but they don't play well in the playoffs. And I don't trust Toronto. The best thing out of Toronto is the rapper Drake. Actually, no. I like Drake, but 2 of the best things out of Toronto is Deborah Cox. Look her up. Also, it's a lot of actresses that are from Toronto. Can't name them all. They have some really good things coming out of Toronto, but the Raptors ain't one of them. And if you're a Toronto Raptors fan, you're just setting yourself up for failure because the Raptors always disappoint. They never are going to win a championship. I'm not going to say never because never is a long time, but I don't see them winning a championship this year. So, yeah. Anyway, Toronto, hopefully you can win game two. Don't know what's going to happen in that, but if you can't stop the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're not going to win a game. Toronto was 0-8 in game ones in their home playoff history. How are you going to be 0-8 at home? Come on, Kyle Lowry. You can't shoot in the playoffs. What's wrong with you, dude? Get it together. Moving on to the 4-5 matchup in the Eastern Conference. 4-5 matchup on paper looks good. The Atlanta Hawks and the Washington Wizards. Washington is led by Raleigh native John Wall. Love John Wall, man. Out of Word of God High School in Raleigh, North Carolina. John Wall and Bradley Beal, the backcourt of the Washington Wizards, are tough. They are sure enough good. And they showed it in game one. John Wall Great game. Playoff career high, 32 points to go along with 14 assists. Bradley Beal had 22 points. Now, the X factors for the Washington Wizards are going to be the others, as Shaquille O'Neal says, the ancillary parts. Martin Gortat, Otto Porter Jr., Markieff Morris. Those guys have to play well for the Washington Wizards to not only win this series, but to make it far in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And on the Atlanta side of things, their point guard, Dennis Schroeder, he had a big game in game one, 25 points, 9 rebounds, but didn't get much help from too many other people on the Atlanta Hawks team. Paul Millsap did have 19 points. Dwight Howard had 14 rebounds, but, that's about it. The Atlanta Hawks need Tim Hardaway Jr. to step up in a major way. Tim Hardaway Jr. only had 7 points in game one, and he's making his playoff debut. So I expect him to play a lot better in game two for the Atlanta Hawks. But again, man, playoff basketball, it's on and popping 10 right now. Western Conference playoffs, Eastern Conference playoffs. It's round one. It's only going to get better. We got about 2 months worth of playoff basketball to look forward to. We're going to be talking about it every episode on the All Things Sport podcast. If you don't like it, tough for you, because I love basketball and we're going to talk about it on the All Things Sport podcast. But we got to take this commercial break. I'm going to end the show with our segment that our listeners just love called Bruh. For real. Let's take this commercial break, pay some bills. We'll be right back on the All Things Sport podcast.
What you ain't heard?
Somebody done told you wrong, punk.
It's the All Things Sport podcast with Damian Banks and Pierre Banks.
Latifah, party's right here.
On Speaker Radio.
Welcome back to the All Things Sport podcast. I'm Damian Banks. Thank you for listening. Again, I told you, if you're rocking with me, you're rocking with the best, but I digress. I told you every segment I have to do it. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sports by Damian. That's SportsByDamion. Help me help you. Again, go to the website, banksboy.com. Help me help you. I told you at the start of the show, after we did Hot Topics, this show was pretty much dedicated to NBA playoff basketball. We talked about the Western Conference playoffs, round one. We talked about the Eastern Conference playoffs, round one. I just finished watching 2 games right before I started recording the podcast. LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers go up 2-0 over the Indiana Pacers, and Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference, they go up 2-0 after they just defeated the Memphis Grizzlies. So this episode is pretty much dedicated to NBA action because it's fantastic. You're going to be hearing a lot about the NBA playoffs in the next months to come, because that's pretty much what you're going to be hearing on the All Things Sport podcast. Going to be talking about some local stuff, but it's the NBA playoffs. You got to love it. So keeping with the theme of the NBA playoffs for this episode, my Bruh for Real segment is a doozy. On this edition of Bruh for Real, I'm going to target future Hall of Famer Phil Jackson. And I'll give you guys a little history lesson if you don't know who Phil Jackson is, for all you teeny bopper listeners. Phil Jackson is a legendary coach. He coached the Chicago Bulls, and he also coached the LA Lakers. Phil was the architect of the triangle offense, coached the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was and Scottie Pippen was for the Bulls, won 6 championships with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Then he moved on to the LA Lakers, won 5 championships in LA between Shaq and Kobe. He was called the Zen Master. Phil Jackson could do no wrong. And he was a hell of a coach, one of the best coaches of all time. These days, Phil Jackson is the president of the New York Knicks. And he's been the president since 2014. That's 3 seasons. In the 3 seasons since Phil Jackson has been the president of the Knicks have sucked. Bruh, for real? Yeah, the Knicks, they're pretty bad. And I know a lot of Knicks fans. Selly Sale, Marcellus, he's a Knicks fan. Paul Bryant, he's a Knicks fan. I know a lot of New York Knicks fans, but you guys, especially since Phil Jackson's got there, you've been pretty bad. You've been downright awful. So, Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with the Knicks, but in 2014, James Dolan, the owner, he thought he was, making a great hire and hiring the Zen master, Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson hasn't done anything right since he's got to New York. No, let me take that back. He's done one thing right. He did draft Kristaps Porzingis in the 2016 NBA draft. So he did that right. And, that's about it. Phil Jackson has, turned the roster over in New York. Don't know any of the players on the Knicks team. The only superstar that the Knicks have on the team is Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony started off in the Denver Nuggets organization, and he has been with the Knicks for like 6 or 7 years now. Carmelo and Phil haven't got along so well since, Phil got there. And Phil has let it be known in the media. Phil is notorious for throwing his players under the bus, in public. And, Phil he hasn't changed. And Carmelo he has a no trade clause in his contract, really huge contract. It's hard for Phil Jackson to trade Carmelo Anthony right now. Excuse me, I was just pulling on my iPhone to look at this article for Phil Jackson, and I hit the iPhone on my laptop. So I apologize for that noise, but I digress. I told you, I'm a one-man army. I record, I edit, I put it on social media. I do it all, but I digress. So Phil Jackson, he pretty much is throwing Carmelo Anthony under the bus. Check out this quote from Phil Jackson. After Phil Jackson or Carmelo Anthony just had their exit meeting, their end of the year meeting, because, of course, the New York Knicks didn't make the playoffs once again. This is what Phil Jackson said to the media following his meeting with Carmelo Anthony. Phil said, and I quote, "We've not been able to win with him on the court at this time. I think the direction with our team is that he is a player that would be better off somewhere else and using his talent somewhere he can win or chase that championship." Phil, bruh, for real? How can you have a meeting with a guy and not tell him this, but have a press conference, a presser, immediately afterwards and tell the whole world that Carmelo Anthony would be better off somewhere else? Bruh. For real? I mean, have some huevos, have some sack, have a heart, Phil. I mean, come on, man. You're gonna say the guy's better off somewhere else? Well, I mean, what's going on with you, Phil? I thought you were the Zen master. I thought you were built for this. Obviously, you're a way better coach than you are a president. You don't need to be buying the groceries. You just need to cook with the groceries, because when you buy the groceries, the meal turns out to be awful. Now, when you just cook with the groceries, you make a pretty good dish. You got 11 championships as a head coach, but as a president of a team, you suck, bruh. So, Phil, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't, like DJ Khaled said, man, don't ever play yourself. You might want to just resign because, bruh, for real, you're pretty bad at being the president of the New York Knicks. I told you this episode was NBA centric, because it's the NBA playoffs. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, get your popcorn ready like T.O. said, enjoy the NBA playoffs. This has been another fantastic edition of the All Things Sport podcast. I thank you again for listening. I got to get out of here. I got to pay the bills. I got to go to work in the morning. So until this is my full-time job, I'm going to keep it short and brief. 2 words. I'm gone.
A heap sees, but a few knows. Only a few. So many have come before, but only a few can go. We invite you to our house. That's 109. Just make sure you wipe your feet at the door. 109 Cushman Street, Durham, North Carolina. Make a right on Wedge, then a left on Walton, and in the middle is where you find us. That's Durham Street. Past the Gooches, McNair's, and the Colemans. Miss Elaine taking clothes off the line. It's time to fold. Fold them clothes, boy. Pop sitting in his folding chair, underneath the tree working on a lawnmower. Hand me a flathead, boy. Said your work just getting started, boys. Listen up. It's too early for an encore. Come on. Mama tatted on my arm, sipping on the other